Next we have the any signs. Any number one is naive eyes. These are kind of funny looking, but I have them as well. So the eyes look childlike. I don't have to do anything. They're just exactly like this. I'm just staring at the camera. Um, they're usually more spherical, and that's not so much anatomy as it is the way that the muscle and the skin around is holding on to the eye, because everybody's eyes are spherical. But with any of the eyes, the area around the eyes um, keeps them that way because it's not, first of all, it's not pulling this area here, which creates that, and it's not dropping the eyebrow below it. So the eyes will appear kind of as they are, spherical. Also, there's something called, which I call the sparkle, which, if I want to be precise about the anatomy of this, the lack of a hypnotic eyelid over the eyes makes it so that the area above the eyes, or at the top of the eyes, is bright. You can see kind of the white of the eyes a little bit, sometimes a bit more. And that's related to curiosity. It's a signal of curiosity. So, there's surprise. There's a little bit of surprise in the eyes. Even if they're not surprised in that moment, the eyes look a little bit surprised. NE2 is relaxed eye area. Now, although the immediate skin around the eye is kind of pulled around the eye so that the eyes appear bright and round, around the eye, all this skin is very relaxed. So if they smile or anything, you'll see that the skin puts up no fight against it. The skin is completely prone to shrivel around the other muscles of the face because the area around the eye is very relaxed, even though the eye itself and the skin around the eye is pulled bright. So what you'll see is this combination of bright eyes around sagging skin. See that? Very easily squishes the skin around here while the eyes remain bright. NE3 is a diverging gaze. So this is different from the brushstroke tongling, which we'll get to later. But diverging gaze refers to just basically the tendency to move your direction of focus around. This is in opposition to SE's tunnel focus. So these are counterparts. So NE's divergent gaze will be looking one place and then looking somewhere else. And there's no locking on to one specific environmental setting. There isn't an object that has particular magnetic pull for them. They're wandering in their gaze. NE4 is tangent hopping, and this is a psychological or language signal, and this refers to the tendency to basically stop midway through a tangent and branch to somewhere else, and then branch to somewhere else. So tangent hopping might be, it's a series of questions that branch more questions. It's different from SI's anecdotal rambling in that tangent hopping is inquisitive in how it branches. So, and I mean, I guess I could say that it's not inquisitive, but I mean, what would you consider inquisitive? I mean, do we even ever define our terms correctly? I mean, or is that a TI thing? I mean, isn't TI the one that does the parsing out of language? Why do we want to put this in any signal? It doesn't really make. Okay, so I just did it right there. See, that was an example. I wasn't actually asking myself those questions. I was just showing you an example. But that's kind of what tangent hopping can do. It's like, The exploration of PE is what guides the divergence to different directions. NE5 is parodies. This can be seen in mini skits. So for example, if they're talking about machine guns, they might actually act out the machine gun. If they're talking about a Disney princess, they might, act like a Disney princess for a few seconds. if they're talking about the hood, they might pretend to be someone from the hood for a few seconds. They're using iconic qualities. That's the thing. So when they do these skits, it's mimetic. They're using a meme. So the meme in this case would be like, "Hey, yo, what's up, man?" That's the meme of the gangster from the streets or the Disney princess. These memes are icons, and then they're enacted as a skits because that's kind of what's going on in their head. The body's enactment of that internal skit. And you see Robin Williams do this a lot in his shows. Also, Jim Carrey is famous for doing this. And he just puts on different faces, different masks. It's part of the expressivity of any as a PE function. NE6 is indiscriminate correlating, and this is somewhat similar to tangent hopping, except tangent hopping has this bifurcation effect, right? So something adjacently related spawns out a new kind of either question or line of thought midway through a sentence, midway through a thought sometimes. With indiscriminate correlation, this specifically refers to when any is connecting two disconnected data sets, not adjacent, they're disconnected, and putting them together. So if you put, like a rocket ship together, and you take turtles, and you put them together, rocket ship turtles, that's a thing now. If you put a pirate together with paper, it's a paper pirate. And then you kind of start to imagine, well, what does a paper pirate look like? And is it a paper sword? And is it an origami sword? And what happens if it gets wet? Oh, well, if it's a paper pirate, then it can't get wet. So the sea is the enemy. And because the sea is the enemy, then what is it doing in the water? What kind of pirate is made of paper? That's an example of indiscriminate correlating where any goes off into somewhere completely out in left field by its exploring of intersections of information that is not already connected. So this is a psychological sign. NE7 is sprightly energy. And I kind of have to explain NE8, which is buoyant undercurrent, together, but I'll focus on sprightly energy first. In sprightly energy, you have the default level of buoyant undercurrent, which is kind of like this, but you get swooped away. So with any's a sprightly energy, the body is there's a like this. There's the movement of the spine and the chest and the head are kind of doing this. It's like they're floating away. I'm exaggerating a view, but the body will be tending towards levity, which means it's jumping upwards. It's almost like it's untethered. If NE8 can be compared to a helium balloon tied down by a string and lightly swaying, then NE7 sprightly energy is what happens when you cut the string of the helium balloon and the helium balloon just kind of flows out into space. That's NE7 sprightly energy. Now NE8 buoyant undercurrent is the default state of bubbling momentum. So bubbling momentum is a PE signal in general. The default bubbling momentum of NE, which is the quality of like a helium balloon tied down by a string to a chair or something, and then being slowly rocked by air. So both PE functions have swaying. I have this kind of read in the wind effect, right? But with SE, which I'll get to later, there's more of a going down, and down as the energy. With NE, the energy is lifting up. So like a helium balloon tied down by a string, there's a kind of this going on. And as they're talking, it's almost a little bit like they're bouncing. And this little bouncing motions will be happening throughout the whole video. Any 9 is amused perk-up. Now perk-ups are a standard PE signal, and perk-ups refer to that. There's an eyebrow raise. There's usually also immediately a head tilt. So that was interesting. See, that was a perk-up, right? So with any, the perk-up is intrigue, sparkle. Again, the sparkle and the amusement. Lastly, any 10, which is a brushstroke eye movements, refers to a very subtle series of saccades that happen as any does this sort of thing. Like the eyes are already like very lubricated ball bearings, to where they're so lubricated that they very easily move their direction, and they can move 5 or 6 times within a span of a second or 2 seconds. So like that. Everybody does saccades, but so NI and SEUs just have a little degree of this, but this is specifically a signal for any when there's many different ones, and they usually go a good circumference around the eye. So it's not just 1 or 2 places, it's not just 3 places, it's usually that's what defines the signal. And that's the end of the any signals.